Hello everyone. It's James again. And before I start today's video, I just want to quickly say, all work in this video contains 100% original content of and by myself James Smith, otherwise known as Bgood 4000, and was uniquely created with NAWMAL software, by myself James Smith. As I purchased commercial rights from NAWMAL to produce my unique and original video with this software. Commentary is uniquely my own thoughts, feelings, and expressions. Now that I have that out of the way, I do hope your day is going way better than fantastic and your journey to self-betterment is going way better than fantastic as well. Today I wanted to talk about a really important topic. It's one I think mostly anyone that was raised in a home full of narcissistic abuse can relate to. But more importantly, how it plays out on the world stage of societal narcissism. Because remember, you can take what you went through growing up, and you can clearly see it being played out in everyday life. So much so it's now out in the open. Though I think there are some people still blinded walking through life unable to see it. And that's why content creators that speak about narcissism are important. Because even if someone grew up in a decent home, maybe both their parents loved them, and maybe they had the joy of having really awesome brothers and sisters to grow up with. Maybe all of that is true. But they still have to enter the world that we live in and interact in that world. And that or this world we are living in is getting to be and becoming more and more narcissistic, toxic, evil, and a place where it's getting more and more difficult to get through. Why? Because narcissists know how to sneak their way into a variety of positions where they can control certain outcomes, and push onto others their narcissism, turning others into the evil mess that they are. Because narcissists are like the vampires in the vampire movies. They not only like to hunt certain individuals for their food, they also have a fetish, if you want to call it that, to turn other people into them. But here's the thing. These vampires at the end of the day are still vampires. Just because they've turned you into them doesn't mean they care about you or they will be there for you. Even though they use their charm to make you think that is the case. However, what's really happening is they hate themselves so much. Though they project out to the world that they are the best thing since sliced bread. But they hate themselves so much. They want someone else to suffer just like they suffer. Suffering the fact they can't feel like others feel. They can't connect like others connect. So what do? They try to make it so others can't feel and connect as well. Under the guise that the people that follow them in their ways will somehow get brownie points and will somehow be accepted. And all of that for a while seems to be true. But if they let enough time pass, the narcissist handler, puppet master, whatever you want to call them, will turn on their creation. And their creation might turn on their handler. And in the end the golden child loses and has lost the chance to be a normal functioning human being. They've lost time. They've lost chances at healthy relationships. They've lost. Now this isn't to say you should run out there and try to connect with your golden child brother or sister. No. Because remember, this golden child is a narcissist themselves if they've gone through the process. Meaning that's how they grew up. And though you might feel bad for them, and you might feel like this is a great time to team up with them, trust and believe at some point in time they will turn on you and everything will get pointed out to being your fault. No matter what it is, it will be your fault. But with that being said, they still lose in the end. And you can see it when we are talking about societal narcissism. But before I give you an example of how it's playing out in society, I want to talk a moment about my narcissist golden child brother and how he was completely left in the role of the bad guy by my narcissist mother on her deathbed. My mother, in an unresponsive state, had people around her talking about how terrible my brother was to her. My mother couldn't respond and was basically in a medically induced coma. And she was getting narcissistic supply. Now I've mentioned before, what I did wasn't for and isn't for everyone. However, it allowed me to get closure. Yes. I went to spend time with my mother before the end of her life. I did little things like help feed her, speak with her doctors, and made sure she was getting good treatment. I would sit there and watch television with her and talk about nothing important. It was all a matter of time. And she knew it and I knew it. I prayed for her soul because I knew she was chosen to be the golden child when she was young by her narcissist mother. And you have to understand that is a big choice for such a young child to make. And then I think about myself and many of you. Most of us have the same thing about us. We just couldn't go along with the wrong things that we had seen in our lives. No matter if it was in our home of origin or school or work. And it's these things that slate us for punishment. And if you are a young child knowing that if I don't go along with this wrong behavior I won't be loved and I won't be cared for. That's a lot for a young child to take on their shoulders and have to make a choice out of that. Now, with that being said, we did make a choice out of that. And though growing up we were mistreated horribly bad, we were able to one day get free. And our minds weren't completely destroyed from all of the gaslighting and manipulation. And we were able to figure things out and get help for ourselves and our situation. The golden child doesn't usually find themselves in that spot or place where they can figure themselves out and end up having a better life. Now what does happen is these golden children is they malfunction later on in life because they deep down inside know they made the wrong choice and their life is a wreck as a result of this choice they made to follow their narcissist mother or father down this rabbit hole. Now all of this doesn't change the fact that this golden child is still a narcissist. But they are now arguing more with their narcissist mother or father. They are now blaming their narcissist mother and father for this and that. And what does this do? It allows the narcissist mother or father to use their golden child for another hit of narcissistic supply. You see, once I became an adult, I wasn't in my home of origin much. There were stretches where I didn't talk to my narcissist mother for long periods of time. And other times where I did speak with her on the phone and such. However, face-to-face interactions were greatly limited as for the most part I wasn't allowed in my mother's home because I was so-called banned from going there because my brother didn't want me there. And he lived with my mother. Remember when I told you that the narcissist likes to play the game of induced two between the middle? Even before I learned about narcissism, I knew my mother fed off of this dynamic and didn't play the game. So again, I wasn't around much. And my mom needed to create another scapegoat. And who is the easiest to pick? Someone they can easily manipulate. And that's the golden child. I've mentioned before how when my brother and I were kids, my mother would induce an argument with us. And then she would call a friend of hers to hear this wonderful mother dealing with her horrible kids. Especially me. According to my mother, I was the main problem. Well, my mother was doing this with my brother. She would get him bent out of shape about something. Then she would call a friend and tell her friend, "I'm going to put down the phone. Don't say anything. Just listen." And before you know it, my brother became a scapegoat. He's still a narcissist golden child, but he became a scapegoat in the last decade of my mother's life. So much so, on my mother's deathbed, which my brother wasn't there at all, and nor was he there for the care of my mother in the last stages of her life. It seemed everyone that visited my mother had something negative to say about my brother and his treatment towards my mother. Many of them had the phone call experience I just mentioned. My mother would tell them how he doesn't help her with this and that and the other. And though he still is a narcissist, I believe he didn't help her out. Because yes, he was only thinking of himself. But I also believe to some level he understood that woman completely wrecked his chance at having a normal life. My brother, who I have no contact with, is a mess. And I feel sorry for him. Because it didn't have to be that way. But the fact is, it is that way. But even in a medically induced coma, my mother had people around her blaming my brother. And not one person held to account that my brother and I grew up in a terrible situation. My mother was just this poor woman that was trying to do the best she could with her 2 sons, and this other son ended up mentally a mess for no apparent reason and was a terrible son. When years before, that was my role. Though I didn't take the route of the narcissist. My brother did. Now how does this tie in societal narcissism? Let me give you an example. There were certain groups decades ago that were championed. Literally championed before breaking up the family unit. And they would get in people's faces and finger wag and tell you how it is. Now though the agenda is still to break up the family. But these narcissistic golden children of societal narcissism are no longer needed. And now today people call them Karens. Or when you have a husband and a wife duo acting like this. They are called Karens and Kens. I mean, you can see the complete disconnected to reality and narcissism dripping off of these people in the many viral clips that are all over the place. But you have to ask yourself, how did they get their first start? And they likely got their start by being the attack dogs to do the bidding of the societal narcissists. And they were given extra status, or that they thought was status. They felt they could just shake their finger and put anyone in their place. That was until they weren't needed anymore. That was until the societal narcissists found new golden children to get ready to do their bidding. And what's weird is these Karens and Kens. And it's no disrespect to anyone that has those names, because I know some really nice Karens and Kens. But I'm just using the social term many have associated with this finger in your business type of person. This is what you get when you have a golden child narcissist that isn't needed anymore. And they are the ones that walk away taking the heat for it all. When their puppet masters above them walk away scot-free. And the truth is, most narcissists live miserable lives. But what's even sadder to watch are those that were propped up by these narcissists, and these narcissists metaphorically throw them into the machine to take the blame for everything. Yes. True, they are narcissists just like the narcissists that created them. They are just a lower level and lower in manipulation and intelligence. And they were quite simply used. Used by narcissists thinking they were going to escape poor treatment. Simply if they just went the way of the narcissist. And in the end they end up looking like the bad guy anyways. And they end up taking the rap for the narcissist that created them. And this is important for those that entering this big thing we call life. And you are seeing all of these evil people so-called get ahead. And you have the draw or temptation to go their route. Please know this narcissistic route will sooner or later turn on you. And the narcissist that took you down this route will come out smelling like a rose. While you are holding this narcissist's metaphoric dirty laundry. And for you scapegoats that have been scapegoats since day one. Just know you made the right choice for not going down that road of narcissism. And that you still have a chance to live a happy and productive life. With that said, I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time, bye for now. And be good to yourself.